Writing a blog or building an affiliate website and not bothering to build backlinks is a bit like trying to steam iron without adding water. It will probably still get the job done, but it's going to take a lot longer and probably won't be as good as it would have been without the water or backlinks. Now, things have come a long way since the bad old days of SEO when you could link spam your way to position 1 in Google without too much effort. But I'll be honest, I expected a lot more of 2022 when I was younger. For example, I thought we'd definitely be commuting by hoverboard and jetpacks by now. I definitely thought there'd be flying cars, and I 100% believed that invisibility cloaks would be a real thing. But I suppose they did get time travel sorted. Oh, you haven't heard? To travel back in time, all you need to do is grab your trusty lemon, rub it on your head 3 times, and then give it a tap, just like this. So I've come back to 2013 when a 34-year-old me, yes, I was bald then too, was working on a fancy football blog. Now, this blog was doing fairly well considering I had very little knowledge of SEO, and it was generally making around £200 per month, which for me at the time I was pretty happy with. But I was writing content every week, 3 or 4 pieces per week, and it was time sensitive. So once that week had gone, the content was never really going to be found in organic search again. So it was the absolute opposite of evergreen content. On top of creating the content, I was also recording a weekly podcast, which took up an absolute ton of time. Now, as much as this site had success, I knew nothing about backlinks, so I couldn't apply what I didn't know. But I reckon if 2022 Jason was working on this site and could apply some backlinks, then it would probably have at least 10 times the success that it did back then. Right, that's enough of that. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention about the lemon time machine. The technology is not completely refined because every time you time hop, you lose a slice of the lemon, and you really don't want to be in the wrong time zone when you're on your last slice. So let's talk a little bit about backlinks. If you imagine that your content is like a fire that is burning away, then backlinks are a little bit like a type of fuel that you can add to that fire to help it to burn hotter and to grow. If you didn't know, a backlink is just a link from one site to another, and in your case, you're going to want to build backlinks from other websites back to yours. However, not all backlinks are created equal, and some backlinks can actually do more harm than good. So it can feel a little bit like a minefield when you're trying to build backlinks because it's hard to know where to look and how to build them. I should also point out before we go any further that building backlinks is completely against Google's terms of service, and if they suspect you of manipulating backlinks in any way, then they will likely penalise your website. When it comes to link building, you will hear terms like white hat, black hat, and even grey hat. With the darker the colour of the hat, the more dangerous that type of link building is considered to be. The reality is, any link building that you try and procure for your website is against Google's terms of service, no matter what colour of hat you happen to call it. When it comes to building links, there are 4 main methods that you can choose from, so let's cover them now. The first is completely organic link acquisition, and this means you are not actively going out and trying to acquire links through outreach or through blog posts or anything like that, and you're just completely naturally allowing those links to build and come into your website. This is the sort of link building technique that the guys over at the Income School would recommend. The problem with it is that it can be incredibly difficult and it can be slow. It will take time, and you might not be able to build the links at the velocity that you really want to in order to see the growth that you want to see for your website. The second method is to go completely outsourced, which means that you're just going to outsource all of your link building to a third party. Typically this could be a company such as Authority Builders, Fat Joe, SEO Butler. There are lots of options out there. The quality differs, so you do need to do your due diligence if you opt for this approach. but it's one that is pretty hands-off and can get some good results. The next option that you have is manual outreach, and this essentially means that you yourself would manually outreach to websites or blogs and try and acquire links coming back to your site. This would usually be in the form of a guest post or link insertions. You can also use services such as Harrow, which is help a reporter out, to try and acquire backlinks that way. The fourth option is to use expired domains. Now I have got a video on this which I will link in the description below, but essentially this means you're buying a website or a domain name that has links built to it already. Now you can use these sites to build out your blog or affiliate website on that actual domain, or you can redirect it to your blog and then pass the link juice from that domain onto yours. I've used all four of these methods and I will continue to do so, perhaps with the exception of the 301 redirect of expired domains. That's something I've not played around with as much, but it is definitely something that I'm playing around with more when it comes to using expired domains for my own affiliate websites. Regardless of the method that you use, other than the completely organic outreach method, you're probably going to need to offer some kind of value exchange in order to acquire that link. Now, the easiest way to do this usually is to offer money. That's the quickest and easiest way. Other forms of value exchanges could be providing high quality infographics, writing content that they can use on their blog, offering link exchanges from another one of your sites to theirs. Don't go for reciprocal links because there's not as much value there. And then things like offering to be a guest on a podcast or a YouTube channel are all possible value exchanges that you can provide in exchange for a link back to your website. Now I think we've got enough juice to go back to 2012, which was way before I really got into SEO, but was around the time that Google released their Penguin update. So let's go. Oh yeah, sometimes when we time hop, certain objects look a little bit different to what they would in reality. So that is actually a PS3 pad. But back to the point of the video, when Google released this update, it kind of changed the game for SEOs forever, at least those who were manipulating the search results. So without going into the history of it all, what this all means, or at least what it means for me anyway, is that I have a set criteria of which I work to when it comes to building backlinks. And the first of those is relevance. So I only want backlinks from websites that are relevant to the niche that I am in. And in a little bit, I'll show you exactly how I determine the relevance of a domain, but essentially it needs to be about the niche that my website is in. Now, secondly, what I look for is domains that have decent traffic. Now, you can argue till the cows come home what we actually mean by decent traffic, but for me, the absolute minimum threshold that I work to is 1,000 organic hits per month. So I want links from websites that have organic traffic of at least 1,000 per month. And then thirdly, I don't want any spammy signals coming from the websites that I'm linking from, or at least as few spammy signals as possible. Now, what do I mean by spam signals? What I'm typically talking about here is things like sponsored labels on posts, right for us in the header of the website, anything that actually shows that they're selling links, and just websites that look like link farms in the sense that they have a huge amount of outbound links compared to the amount of inbound links that they've got coming in. And that's it. So time to head back because this juice is starting to run out. Now I'm back at the desk, so let's take a look at some ways in which we can identify a good link from a bad link. Now make sure you do stick around until the end of the video because I'm going to be showing you exactly how I do my manual outreach, and if you are getting value from this video, please bop that like button. So there are two key tools that I tend to use when it comes to assessing domains. The first one is Ahrefs, which is a paid tool, and I know that it is quite an expensive tool, so this is kind of optional, but the alternative to this, which is very, very cheap, is this Chrome extension plugin called SERPworks. I very rarely have to top up my credits with this plan. I think it costs around $10 a month. So I would say it's pretty affordable for most people, but what it gives you is a huge amount of information about a website. So I'm going to show you in Ahrefs first of all, and then we'll look at it using SERPworks. So this is the backlink profile for my website, Coffee Grind Guru. Now, some of these links were created prior to me buying the site, and some of them are links that I have built out myself. So let's take a look at one of the links that I have built, which is this one here, coffeehow.co. So straight away, we would think that it's pretty relevant to the niche because it has coffee in the domain name. But what we can see here straight away is, it has a DR rating of 44, but I'm not too concerned about that. What I'm much more concerned about is how much traffic the domain receives on a monthly basis. Now we can see here, this website gets over 65,000 hits per month. So regardless of anything else, Google clearly thinks that this is a fairly high quality website. Otherwise, it would not be receiving that much traffic. So it's well above that 1,000 hits per month minimum. We can actually go in and take a deeper look at this site if we want to. This is that actual page. So if we go into the site as a whole, we can see that it's got a healthy number of backlinks to referring domains, good traffic. Let's have a look at some of the links. And straight away, I'm seeing a lot of links that have coffee in the domain, coffee, 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 food, drinks. So straight away it looks decent. But let's go one step further. So we want to take a look at the site, and I would do this even if I had Ahrefs. I would still be using the SERPworks tool, but SERPworks will actually give you a lot of this information anyway. So if we open up SERPworks, we then get this sidebar that gives us a lot of that information. Now, SERPworks uses SEMrush data. Now, SEMrush and Ahrefs, sometimes there's a bit of a conflict, but typically if they both show traffic over 1,000, or if one of them shows traffic over 1,000, then I'd be happy with the traffic side of things being met. And we can see this has over 76,000 hits per month in SEMrush data. So I'm pretty happy with that. We can see the domain age. Now this is only 2 years old, so a domain getting that much traffic in 2 years, there's probably a redirect, and we can see actually there is a redirect in place, but that's nothing to be too concerned about. But what SERPworks does do, which is fantastic, is give us this majestic data. And what we're looking at here really is what's called topical trust flow. And essentially that is the types of websites that predominantly are linking to this site. And that's how we measure the relevance of the site. Now we can see here that the top one is computers and internet. The second one is business and construction, and then it's back to computers and internet. So in terms of topical relevance, it's not that relevant. I'm still fairly happy with it as a domain because I've given it a manual look. So I can see that they do have backlinks that are to do with coffee. They've got good traffic. We've got coffee in the domain name, which again is a good sign, but they don't have that topical trust flow. But we're going to forgive them on this one for now. Sometimes we can't get everything. And then the next thing we want to do is to take a manual look at the website. So let's do that. And really what I'm looking at here is to see what the site looks like. And actually this looks quite a nice clean looking site. We can see it's actually an affiliate website in its own right. Now actually that's perfect, because if we go back to Ahrefs and we look at some of the keywords that this site is ranking for, we can see that they're ranking for the types of keyword that we want Coffee Grind Guru to rank for. Now this is a really important point when it comes to building backlinks and assessing how powerful a backlink is. The best types of backlinks that you can acquire for your website are backlinks from websites that are already ranking for the keywords that you want to rank for, because they are, in the eyes of Google, the most relevant websites for those specific search terms. So if you can manage to acquire a backlink from a domain that is already ranking for what you want to rank for, then you're on to a winner. So the main thing we're looking for here is that it doesn't include things like Write For Us or sponsored posts or anything like that. We'll have a look in the footer, and yeah, there's nothing like that there. So typically I'm going to be fairly happy with getting a backlink from this site. So now let's take a look at a link that was built prior to me acquiring the site. The first link that I found that was picked up was from the 30th of May 2019, and it's this brewtousroasting.com. The first thing is, it doesn't have the domain traffic that we want. It does have the word brew and roasting in the domain name, so that's you know, coffee related. But if we go into this website, there's a couple of things straight away that concern me here. Again, SEMrush traffic data is below that 1,000 mark. Art history, arts and literature, and then recreation and travel, again, are not particularly relevant. But the biggest concern here is this. This is a guest post written by Tyler Heel from Coffee Grind Guru. So if Google were to find this link, and they will have done, and they will have been able to crawl that, and they will understand what this is saying, that this is a guest post written by Coffee Grind Guru, they can very clearly see that this is a manipulated link. This has been paid for, or at the very least, it's been written by us at Coffee Grind Guru. And the link is actually here in the header. Now, actually, that's not the end of the world, because it's actually a decent quality post, and you know, it's being open and honest about it. So one or two of those on a website is not going to hurt. And actually the amount of leniency that I find that we are afforded as marketers is actually quite big. So that's not going to, you know, destroy that website, or at least it probably isn't going to destroy the Coffee Grind Guru website. Would I want 15 or 20 of those links if I'd only got 100 links in total? No, I definitely wouldn't. And is it something that I would advocate going forwards? Again, of course it's not. But you don't need to panic if you have links like that, but try to avoid them on the whole when you are building out your links. Now, the other thing that you want to try and avoid is these types of emails that get thrown around where they're offering link insertions from as little as £25. Sometimes you can get them for $10, $20, whatever. Typically, these emails, I would always try and avoid building links on these types of sites. Not only are they, you know, they're using a DA metric, that's fine to use, but it doesn't mean anything. But also, they're sending this out to potentially thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that could, you know, build links from these sites. And take a look at this one first of all. So Radical Breeze, on the face of it, it looks okay. Let's go to their contact page, and this is exactly, and I've not pre-looked at this, but I was pretty sure this would be here. This is exactly what we don't want to see, right for us. Anything like this, we don't want to see. It's a big red flag, but then let's go and take a look, and I haven't done this in advance. Okay, 0 organic traffic. There is no point in building a link from this site, and if we just have a look on SERPworks, SEMrush tells us exactly the same. You know, if you had a lifestyle or a interior design type blog, then you would be looking up here for topical trust flow that is relevant to that, and again it's not. So all the signs there, so everything there is pointing towards the fact that it's not a great site to get a backlink from. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how to at least identify the difference between a good backlink and a bad backlink. Now, I did promise to show you my outreach email template, so we'll hop over to the computer and I'll very briefly show you this. But this has worked really well for me, and it's not something, to be honest, that I use often enough. I do not use mass email software or anything like that to send out hundreds and hundreds of emails. I personalize the email to each individual site that I send it out to, and I typically get about a 10 to 15% reply rate, which is pretty good, I think, because every site that I reach out to I've hand-picked, and it already meets the criteria that I know I'm looking for. So this was a really simple email that I sent, and I don't necessarily use the same template all the time. I will mix it up a little bit, but it simply says, and first of all, it's personalized to the blog owner. So I actually took the time to find the name of the person that owns the blog. Sometimes you have that information on the contact page or the About Us page. Sometimes you don't. If you don't, that's absolutely fine. If you've got it, definitely, take that time to find the name of the person. And you say, hope you are well. I came across your site and noticed that you have a really active blog section. Now, sometimes here I will actually pick out a specific article and mention it and say something about it, so it proves that I've taken the time to read it. We're looking to increase our online exposure and have a small budget in which to do so. Now, I find that this is a key sentence here, saying that, you do have a small budget, but it is small. So you do have something that you can offer, but it's not going to be a huge amount. I was wondering if you would allow us to add a link to one of your existing blog posts. If so, what would you charge as an admin fee for this, please? So I've been quite specific with my wording there. I'm talking about an admin fee. What would you charge as an admin fee? I'm not offering to pay for the backlink. I'm offering to pay for his time to go in and make the necessary changes, which is quite a different thing. Essentially, it also needs to make sense for him that he's adding value to his readers by linking out to you. So use professional language in the way in which you communicate with these people. Failing that, we could write a new piece of content for you to publish as a new post if possible. Kind regards, Jason. It's really quick and simple. It's to the point. He hasn't got to read through a load of content, but it's also personalised and it uses professional language. I find this sort of approach gets a really good result. And the result of that email was that I had a response within an hour, and within 24 hours I had a link insertion from that website which was 100% relevant. It had good traffic and it was on an article of my choosing and had the exact anchor text that I wanted to use, and it cost £25. So that was a really good result, and I'm more than happy to spend £25 on that quality of link, and it didn't take a huge amount of time at all. Probably about 5 or 10 minutes worth of work on my end, probably 2 or 3 minutes worth of work on his end, and he's happy with £25. I'm happy with the link that's really relevant to my website. So hopefully that's you really well covered now for your off-page SEO. Now make sure that you get your on-page SEO 100% right by watching this video here that covers that topic in depth. Thanks for watching, guys, and good luck with your projects. This is the juiciest lemon ever, and I've got lemon juice dribbling all down my hand, which is lovely.